Vayikra contains many minute details about each animal sacrifice that was brought in the tabernacle. For each sacrifice, the Torah explains when to slaughter the animal, which parts the person should eat, which parts of its carcass should be burned up, and even which corner of the tabernacle altar to use to burn it. Sacrifices, sacrifices, sacrifices? What's it all about? The Hebrew word for sacrifice is korban, which comes from the word karov, close. These sacrifices were meant to bring people karov, closer to God. It may sound like a strange idea, but when you want to welcome new neighbors, you throw them a barbecue. When you want to show appreciation to God, you take your very best meat and you, throw it on the altar. And especially when you're in the desert and food is scarce, that's really giving it up for God. You'll notice many different occasions on which people brought sacrifices, times when we might want some extra spiritual closeness to God, happy times, trying times, times when we've sinned, times when we've made mistakes. There's a special sacrifice when someone sins individually, and a separate one if the community makes a mistake as a group. This shows the difference between individual responsibility for our mistakes and communal responsibility, each of which requires a different type of spiritual work. There's even a type of sacrifice to bring if you think you sinned but you're not sure. And of course, don't forget the daily offering because it's important to grow closer to God each day, even during ordinary moments. And get this, even though many of these sacrifices were animals, most also had a vegetarian option. In those days, the veggie option was mostly because of the high cost of cattle. The Torah wouldn't want anyone to be excluded from becoming closer to God just because they couldn't afford a brand new ox, which back then was like buying a brand new motorcycle. So instead, you could bring a bird, which was cheaper. And if you couldn't afford a new bird, or didn't want to give an animal at all, then you could bring an offering of grain. Almost anything done with the proper intentions could bring a person closer to God. The sacrificial system, although it might seem strange to us, was all about getting closer to our Creator, closer to each other, and perhaps even closer to the animals, who were partners in this endeavor whether or not they knew it. It seems appropriate, then, that when animal sacrifice ended, sacrifices were replaced by prayer. As a matter of fact, our whole system of prayer is based on this system of animal sacrifice. Jews pray 3 times per day, morning, afternoon, and night, because there were daily offerings in the morning, afternoon, and night. We have special prayers for thanks and for holidays, which correspond to the sacrifices for those occasions. But back in biblical times, if God had given instructions to pray, people would have thought that was crazy. Just like today, we think that animal sacrifice is a little unusual. So does God really need all those animals? No. God wants to give us a tangible way to show our dedication and to mark our spiritual growth. Later in Jewish history, prophets like Hosea remind us that it's not about just burning and eating animals, it's about the feeling behind it. God wants us to look inside every day, especially during difficult times or when celebrating an accomplishment. Those are the moments for korban, closeness to the divine. Nowadays, we can all take the veggie option and sing out in prayer.